It's me, it's Isa from As Told by a Widow. Welcome to my new series where I speak on my experiences, personal experiences um, throughout my life. And I know it's some valuable information as I've lived and experienced life as a single parent, as a wife, and now as a widow who is on a continued intentional journey on my joy. So, in this series, I am going to tackle basically just make it very light and give it to you in bite size pieces. Just some valuable advice. Because although I'm a widow now, I know I have valuable life experiences as a wife that I can share with other people who are married. I know as a single parent, before I met my husband, that I have some valuable information that I can share. And as a widow, 12 years later, and as I am evolving and dating, there's some things that I can share with widows on that journey as well. So let's get started. All right. So let's talk about it. The two elements that I wanted to speak on across three spectrums, like I said, as a single parent, as a wife, and as a widow living life. All right. And so let's get started. I chose two elements, and that is fairness and compromise. And I chose these two because I hear it a lot. I want you hear people say, I want things to be fair and just in every level of a relationship. And you always hear, I'm willing to compromise. Or they ask, are you willing to compromise? And we compromised and we've come to this conclusion. Or we've compromised and we've come to this resolve, this solution. Right? So I chose those two. So let's get started. Now, honestly, let's give a definition. And these are my definitions, how I see it. And always understand that you and your personal situation, okay, have strong elements to it that specifically speak to your situation. I'm just giving you some general word of thoughts. That's it. It's nothing for you to say, oh, it's an epiphany. And for some, it may. I don't know. I was led to do this series. I have a lot of married friends who like to talk to me, and I enjoy talking to them as well about marital, things, you know. And of course, I have my widows who, wants to know, when is it safe, or does dating or marriage even make sense after the transitioning of a spouse, you know. And when you're a single parent, I understand, does fairness even exist? Does compromise exist? Because as a single parent, I don't see anybody compromising, and this does not feel fair. All right. So now that we've gotten that bit out, for me, fairness is, and this is what I've come to, is you're good to me, then I'm good to you. That's fair. You do to me equally what I do to you. Or you do for me what I do for you. What people call, what is the word? Reciprocity to some levels, right? Okay. I'm going to say this. On all levels of relationship, I no longer want fairness in a relationship under the dynamic and the definition I just gave you. You know why? Because there are going to be a lot of moments where, yes, you're going to give a little bit more and receive less. And after a while, you're going to say, hold on, that's not fair, that's not fair, that's not fair. Or if you keep, fair says, if you continue to do that, then I am going to give you what you give me. So if you give me less, I'm going to give you less. That's only fair. Right? You give me more, I give you more. And that equates to emotions as well. That equates to time spent with each other. That equates to affection, intimacy. Right? So, in essence, fairness is something that goes against unconditional love. Because there are going to be moments when I just can't give you more. But that shouldn't mean you should start giving more of yourself. You should never, if a relationship gets to a point where you're constantly giving, there's no sense of reciprocity or a sense of fairness. And you've communicated this with your mate, your partner. And you've noticed there's no attempt to resolve the situation, to come up with a solution. Or there's no energy or motivation to do so. That means a decision needs to be made. Okay. And in those decisions, counseling, group therapy, or, some form of intervention. And through communication, you find out there may be some external elements that's causing this this imbalance of sort. Okay? And then you come to understanding and a sense of appreciation. See, fairness says tit for tat. It's only fair. Right? You know how it is when your children, like, you hit me, I'm going to hit you back. It's only fair. Right? You kiss me, I kiss you back. You're respectful to me, I'm respectful to you. And the other side is, if you're mean to me, I'm going to be mean to you. Right? You say something negative to me, I'll say something negative to you. You know? So, as a single parent, is it fair when you have, for my daughter and I, it was us, and I had a uninvolved parental figure. My partner decided that they didn't want to be an active participant in our lives in any shape or form, financially, physically, at all, after 2 years. Is it fair for me to go and use all my energy to make his life uncomfortable? Because as a single parent, now that you are financially responsible, emotionally responsible for yourself, the household, and the spiritual and emotional nurturing of a child and a child's wholeness, all by yourself. Been there, did that. So is it fair for me to just totally focus on getting back at him? Because that would be fair. Right? I did that. And after a while, I was like, I'm spending more energy trying to be fair and get back at a grown adult man who made an adult decision, which is taking energy away from me being more nurturing to my daughter at the time. Although she was lacking in any material aspects, I mean, I made, well, anyway, you follow me. There was no financial setbacks for her. But there was emotional ones because I had become hyper focused on making him uncomfortable because he had made my life uncomfortable. Until I finally came to a resolve, like, this is draining me. You do, you do, you don't, you don't. It hasn't made a financial impact in my life. But what it is draining me energetically and spiritually. And I literally had to pray that out of my heart. That's God, I don't want to do this. Let me take this energy, this form of anger toward this person, this need for fairness or payback, that reciprocity that I feel like I need to deliver him myself, and take it and mold it into something positive and pour that positive energy into spending more time with my daughter, more time in myself and developing my career. You follow me? And I did. And guess what? I meet my husband. Yes. So, and like I said, I literally spent more time with my daughter. I finished one of my degrees, college degrees, and in the process of doing those things, um, enjoyed my daughter. We just grew together and closer. And with that being said, it also elevated my career. So now I'm in a whole nother space, right? That I was professionally, um a whole nother level actually. And I meet my husband. Go figure, right? Who I was upfront with him. I told him my story. And he was like, if you don't mind, can we create a new one? And I was just like, oh, I'm liking this. And we took it piece by piece. So I know what it feels like when you enter into a relationship and there's a pre-existing relationship. When I say pre-existing, you have children. Although my husband didn't have any children, he literally, and not just him, his entire family embraced my daughter and I with open arms. I mean, seriously. And we married. And about 2 years later, I had my second daughter. My husband's we had our second daughter. And in our marriage, right? I'm gonna go into compromise because he is a single parent. There was really nobody to compromise because my situation was that um, the my partner chose not to be involved, so there was no one to compromise with. Now, for some that co-parent, then of course, I would have spoke about the element of compromise. But because I'm choosing this particular series based on my own personal experiences, I didn't address the compromise component as a single parent because there was nobody to compromise with. It was just me. Now, when you're married, and I've already told you how I felt about fairness. All right. So I didn't go into my marriage looking for fairness. But I did go in looking for compromise because I used to hear that word, oh, you got to compromise, compromise, compromise. And my husband and I, we did premarital counseling and they spoke about compromise, compromise, compromise. We did the little, what is that little game, or I call it a test, where you write down all the things that you would like for your spouse and you to do when you're married. All right. And then you switch papers and, not at the same time, we regrouped and we came back and our counselor therapist gave our papers, switched them up. And he said, now, I want you to put on here the things that you're willing to do, right? And things that you are not. Check them off, so I did. So we gave them back the papers back to each other. And one of the options was video games. Are you willing to play video games? My husband put that on there, wrote that in. And I said yes. And everybody, I do not play video games. I'm not opposed to them, but I just don't. And one of mine was dancing. I love to dance, right? So I checked yes, because I was willing to compromise, because I had always heard that that is what you do when you're married. You compromise. And I read off my list and I felt so good because I felt like, oh, I'm compromising. It was video games, and I can't remember. Video games really stuck out to me because I was just like, but I'll compromise. I'll do it, right? And I just, I get the paperback, and by dancing, my husband checked no. I was like, excuse me, why not? And the counselor, I remember the look on his face. He said, well, is that a problem with that? And I was like, no, but I don't like video because my husband checked no for dancing, right? Dance lessons, right? Ballroom dance lesson and salsa dancing, right? And I was like, but I don't like video games. And I checked yes. And so the counselor was like, is that a deal breaker for you? He's telling you now up front, he don't want to do it. Is that a deal breaker for you? So in that moment, I was like, but I'm willing to compromise. Why he can't change his mind? I hurt my finger outside, you guys. Yard work. And it was like, no, 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 no. You can't force him. He's being honest. He don't want to do it. And I'm still like, no, I don't want to play video games. But I put it on there. Oh, my husband put camping. And he wants to go camping once a year. I say yes. I'm like, I don't want to go camping. So I feel like he should get this paper back and check yes. And my counselor's like, no. He's telling you up front. He don't want to do that. So in that moment, I questioned compromise. Right? And honestly, being honest with myself. And I remember looking over at my husband. So he was like this. Like, he wanted to change his mind, but he was in front of the therapist. But, he didn't want to seem like he, like gave in to me. I could see, look, like if you want to, I'll do it. I was just like, no, you don't have to. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. That's why I told him. So I got a whole attitude. I remember y'all about him just being honest. Right? And I remember when we were married, and situations would arise, and we would sit down and talk it through. And I'm still under the thought that compromise was my thing. And my husband said once, we're sitting here, we're compromising to the point where we're not moving. This is what he said, we're at a standstill. And I looked at him, I was like, that is so true. So, compromise a lot of times can mean you get together with your spouse, your husband, wife, your partner, whoever. And you can compromise, you can come up with solutions. But the two of you leave, no one is fulfilled. Right? You get to a solution, but no one is truly elated or leaves fulfilled. It's just that, okay, we came up with something to move just to get through this moment. All right. So if you're looking to compromise, if it's comfortable to help you to get through that moment, then yes. But if you're looking for a solution where the both of you are fulfilled, because like my husband noticed, you can compromise so much to where you're at a stalemate. You're just standing still. Nothing's moving. And for me, compromise means both parties leave unfulfilled. So what's the solution, right? As I look back in hindsight, which is 2020, I would say write that list again that your therapist, well, if you did premarital counseling, write a list again of the situation and what it is you're looking for or need in that situation. And your spouse makes the same list, what they're looking for and what they need. Okay. And what you do is you look at the need. Is this a need? Do you need this? And be honest, because if the thing is you love this person and you love yourself and you want it to really work, which is your marriage, and not just your marriage, you want to continue in the passion, in the blissfulness, and the unconditional love that you and your husband, your spouse, your partner has. So be honest, regardless of how uncomfortable it may be. Just like I said, I had an attitude in premarital counseling. So when you're married, write it down. Be honest. And understand that when it's time for you to sit down and have this honest, loving conversation about and you say, I need this. And your spouse lay their list down and say, I need this. Okay. And it very seldom does that list contain anything that will cause you harm, that will violate your morals or your boundaries. Because if it violates your morals and your boundaries, then your marriage needs more than fairness and compromise. Okay? You two needs to get in front of a professional. Do you understand me? Do you overstand me? So when you have this list of a need, you're going to say, I need more time with you. I need you to touch my body more. I need less touching of my body during this time period. Because you're going to have those opposing moments where you need more of something and your spouse needs less. And when you get to those points, you say, let's win. Is there a particular time that you don't like it? Or does this let's violate you morally? Or is it a personal boundary that you haven't discussed with me? That's when you ask the question. When you bump it, when you have conflicts like that. So you can get behind the motivation. Because let's say your spouse wants to be intimate in the morning. And you're saying, I don't want to be intimate in the morning. And your other spouse is like, but I need intimacy in the morning. Right? And you get to a point you can say, well, does it violate you morally? Is there something about it that brings you harm? Right? Because remember I just said, if it violates your morals or your boundaries, then that means that went unaddressed before you got married. Or are you creating an issue? Okay. That needs to be looked into by a professional, because there could be. And a lot of times when, in a marriage, when that happens, when there's a conflict in a need where you want something more of, or you need more of something, and that person needs less of something, and it doesn't violate your morals or your boundaries, you need to get to the root cause of that, the motivation. Okay. Because I've seen where relationships, especially when a spouse is contemplating or has thinking about other relationships outside of the relationship, or trying to end the relationship, but just don't know how, they create what they call soft conflicts. So that's why I said, when you run into those issues, it's bigger than compromise or fairness is not the answer. You need to get in front of a bona fide professional. All right. So I've tackled fairness and compromise from a single parent and as a wife. Now let's talk about it as a widow dating, right? Pretty much the same concept, but as a widow, there's this issue of, are you ready? Right? I know the body, especially when it comes to intimacy, you want to be loved. You want to be intimate, you know. But you also want to make sure that you are emotionally healthy for intimacy, for a relationship. Even if you're just dating, you just looking for something absolutely platonic, just some adult conversation. Okay. So I'm not telling you, this is not a video to tell you what to do. I am just telling you what I've learned and what I've experienced for myself. And that is, you know, you want to, as a widow or widower, be cognizant of your decisions. Because a unhealed heart can hurt someone else. Now, you, as the widow or widower, you're getting fulfilled. You're dating, let's say you're dating someone and they're all in. They know about your situation. They know that you're healing and recovering and discovering life again. And if they're willing to still continue with that, the friendship and, move it to the next level. But if you're not emotionally in a healthy place, you can end up hurting someone who all they wanted to do was just love you and be with you. And you're not aware. At least I hope you're not doing it on purpose. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to be out here just breaking hearts just so you can fulfill a space that is missing, and that's your spouse. All right. And for those that have children, you want to make sure that when you're dating, I'm not saying hold up on intimacy based on your children because you have children, but you also want to make sure that you keep a healthy eye on their emotions as well, because they may not be ready to accept someone so quickly in the role of their parent that is missing. So when you do it, just start to prepare, your children for, the introduction of a special person in your life. And you all grow together. All right. Okay. So with that being said, fairness, like I said, fairness says that if you're good to me, I'm good to you. When you're not good to me, I'm not good to you. So as a widow or widower, remember now, unless you plan on doing a lot of dating, don't look for fairness. Okay? Because you're going to be out here like, oh, he just not going to return my phone calls, so I'm not going to return his. Come on now. Let's be real. Or if he's going to take this person, because, people don't really like, I'm a call person, and at my age, I get testing and all that good stuff. So, but that's limited, and I'm very upfront with that. And so if somebody sends you a text and it takes them, I don't know, the next day, not necessarily the next day, but a couple hours to respond in the middle of the day, He was like, oh, so I'm going to take another couple hours and not respond to their text until another 3 hours. Come on now. That is fair now. But you're not getting anywhere. Right? Compromise as a widow. Well, I would say use the example I just gave you with the children. Because children are going to be children. And you say, well, I'm going to compromise with you. You're going to make a compromise with the children. And you say, well, I am going to go out on a date with this person. You all have met them. And the children will be like, well, I don't think you should do it because your personal life is affecting my. I'm just giving an example of how children, especially teenagers, and young adult, and I say that because I had one. Well, it's whatever you want to do. I don't need to meet them. And you're like, that was not nice. And you're like, well, let's compromise. How about I invite them over for dinner, but the child doesn't want that person in the house yet. So you're making all these compromises, right? To someone, your children, and you come to a solution. You make the dinner, you compromise, but your dinner guests and even you are not happy. Yes, you're there at the dinner table because you just compromise just to get your teenager, your young adult to come to the table just to meet a potential or even a special person in your life. So it was an event where no one was fulfilled. Time was spent, but no one left fulfilled. So I'm not telling you not to date because you should. Your spouse will want you to. And I want to speak on specifically for my widows and widowers when it comes to dating. And that is survivor's remorse. All right. So outside of fairness and compromise, we've covered that for my widows and widowers and all the other levels. So I'm adding this extra layer for us. And that's survivor's remorse because that's real. And I experienced that. I felt like the first few days that I went on with my spouse, where I felt like someone else is now going to benefit for all the love and support and unconditional love that my husband poured into me. I was even like, that's not right. That's not fair for someone else to experience the fruit of my husband's labor into our marriage, into who I am now, that somebody else gets to experience and enjoy. Why could my husband live long enough to enjoy me? Why is it now someone else gets to enjoy me? right? But I had to get beyond that. Not because of intimacy's sake, but because I know now that my husband would want me to be happy. I want to be happy. See, I'm responsible for my own happiness, which is true, and I am. I have great joy. I'm alone, but I'm definitely not lonely. Not anymore. And that's due to intentional healing. I have 12 years into this, and I'm finally at a space where I am damn happy, y'all. And I'm overrunning with so much internal happiness and bliss. It would be so wrong not to share that with someone else. I am overflowing with so much unconditional, agape, divine love. You know, that it would be wrong for me to not share it with someone else. And it's also, the thing is, I deserve to receive unconditional love, agape love, passion, attention, blissful communication from a spouse, a partner. You follow me? A mature and emotionally mature mate, partner, spouse. Okay? And so do you. All right? So you're not violating or disrespecting your spouse that has transition. Because when you're on the journey of healthy healing now, intentional on healthy healing, and you're out here with good intentions, you're not trying to break any heart just for quick emotional fulfillment or satisfaction. You are making every effort to provide responsible and intentional and unconditional love, passion, and blissful communication to someone else, and you're open to receiving it. All right. So we are, 48 minutes in. So, first episode, fairness and compromise. And for my widows and widowers, survivor's remorse. So, you're going to get through this. Whether you're a single parent, whether you are a spouse and things in a marriage and things are becoming challenging, you're going to get through it. Even if, like I tell you, grief comes in different forms, the marriage can become disappointing. You're going to get through that as well. All right. And for my widows and widowers, you're going to get through it. And you deserve love. So don't isolate yourself from love. All right. Or sabotage love, from receiving love or giving it. All right. So those are just some tidbits from a widow who's been a single parent, who's been a wife, and who is a widow, who is dating, I guess. I would really call it dating. I did, but I'm still here. I haven't made any announcements, so. Oh my goodness, y'all. This is a journey, and it is amazing. I'm going to get through it, and so will you. Love you.